Housing market has been a hot topic lately with rising mortgage rates, a lack of homes on the market, and homes that experts say are selling oftentimes above listing price. Our Taylor Toole is joining us live in Broussard with local realtor Robbie Breaux to shed some light on that situation and advice that he has for both buyers and sellers. Good morning, Taylor.
Good morning, Katie. That's right. Mr. Robbie Breaux is here, and he's going to give us some tips because this housing market is pretty crazy, huh?
Absolutely. Thanks so much for having me.
Yeah, thanks for joining us.
So one of the things that we always like to look at is leading indicators of what's going to be moving forward in the market. So first step that we take a look at is homes that are coming on the market. Think about the for sale signs that are coming in the yard. That number is down 17%, and then the homes that are coming off the market is down 17%. So we had a gap of about 10% in between those. So that our inventory range is dropping. So there's even fewer homes than there were this time last year. So while we have had a little bit of a slowdown as far as the closed sales are concerned, the available inventory is still low. So what that does is it gives fewer homes for buyers to choose from.
Wow. So if that's the case, then what can, I guess, buyers do to make sure they can get a nice home like this one?
So you have to be really committed to what your absolute must-haves are and your wants are. And one of the things that I've always recommended to folks is think of things like an 80-10-10. 80% you love, 10% you could change, 10% you can deal with. Now, 80% that you love for me was, I wanted to be in a particular neighborhood and I had to be in this particular spot because it was close to friends and work and all that other fun stuff. 10% you could change could be different things. Like if you're coming into a nice house like this, there's not a lot you need to change. But for me, I found the place that I had to be in. We did a big old remodel and we were able to make things and customize them like the way they were. But 10% I could change. I backed up to a street, but it checked off all those boxes. So not everything's going to be perfect. There's going to be a little bit of compromise, but it ends up working out.
And what about the sellers? With that going on, we have to also think about those people that are trying to sell their home. So what do you have to say to them?
Absolutely. Now, while we are seeing a little bit of a dip on the closed sales, sellers have to be a little bit more conscious of making sure that their home is absolutely perfect and ready to go. So we can't let some of the things that we were able to get away with the last couple of years, problems that are going on that necessarily needed to be repaired. So we need to make sure that's done. So making sure when you talk to your agent, we run through, make sure there's no big surprises. Everything looks as perfect as it can. So if there is other competition that's going on, we've got the upper end to be able to get your house on the market so you can jump in and get your new one.
Well, that's some awesome advice. Thank you so much for joining us here this morning. I know we're going to talk with you more later on in the show, as well as some builders and lenders. But for now, I'm live in Broussard. Taylor Toole, KATC-TV 3.
There are ways to keep that project on track. Taylor Toole is live in Broussard this morning with local builder Castille to talk about the impact and lack of supplies they're having and what homeowners could expect if they are in the market for a new build. Good morning, Taylor.
Good morning, Katie. That's right. Mr. J is here, and he's going to be telling us some tips and tricks for those people who, might be wondering what's going on, what's taking so long, all that good stuff, or maybe not so good stuff. Thanks for joining us this morning, and I know that you were just telling me off camera that it's been quite a time getting everything together for these builds. What are the current timelines?
Well, the current timelines now are 6 to 7 months, where it used to take us 3 months to do the projects. We're having some supply chain issues. Just for instance, like your windows for a home. I used to get them in 4 weeks. Now I'm up to 20 weeks before I get the windows. So, we're actually purchasing windows before the loan is even in place. So, yeah, we have a lot of issues, plumbing fixtures, electrical fixtures, flooring. Everything that goes inside of a home is delayed. And it's real frustrating to try to get the home done, and we try to explain that to the homeowners that it just takes time because of these supply chain issues we're having.
Right, and like you said, that sounds like just about everything you need to build a nice home. Is there anything that isn't taking time?
No, everything is taking time. It's just, no matter what it is, this could be a receptacle or a light switch. It's unbelievable how long it's taken to get these items in. We have guys that they order supplies months ahead of time, knowing that it's coming up, and then this takes forever to get it here. It's very frustrating.
Right. So what can, I guess, people that are looking for a new build do to, avoid having to deal with too much of a wait time? I know there's going to always be that wait time, it seems, at least for right now. What can they do?
Well, the best thing to do is to sit down with your contractor early, make all your selections if you can, if possible, and That way, when this project starts, we get everything ordered, and we build it as it comes in, so it works a lot smoother that way. If you wait till you start the build, then you're going to be behind the 8 ball, and you can just get ready to wait.
Yeah.
There's nothing you can do about it. Just wait.
Right. And have you seen anything like this? How long have you been in the business, and have you seen anything like this before?
No, this is the first I've ever seen it. I've been a contractor for 22 years and in construction for 40, and I've never, ever seen it this bad. This is the worst I've ever seen it.
And do we see it getting better?
Not yet. I was hoping it would get a little better this year, but it hasn't done yet. So I'm hoping after the holidays that things start to settle down again, and we can kind of get back to maybe a half normal situation. But it's never been this bad before, ever.
Alrighty, so I guess for now, just, sit down with your contractor, plan ahead, don't, just do anything. Try to get prepared ahead of time, basically. Be proactive instead of reactive.
Correct, yes.
All right, well, I want to thank you so much for joining us here this morning. It's really helpful advice. But for now, I am live in Broussard, Taylor Toole, KATC-TV 3.
Well, financing, it's a key part of buying a home, but for many, crunching those numbers and then understanding the interest rate, well, that can be a little confusing, to say the least. Our Taylor Toole is live this morning, and she has a local lender, Regan, to shed a little bit of light on this very topic. Good morning, Taylor.
That's right. Good morning, Katie. I am here with Mr. Jesse Regan, and he's going to tell us a little bit more about what can be expected when it comes to these crazy times we are in the housing market. Thanks so much for joining us this morning.
Good morning, Taylor. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely.
So the current 30-year fixed mortgage rate is at 5%, and we haven't seen these levels since 2010.
Wow.
Just a few months ago, we were at 3%. So we're at about a 12-year high right now. So how does that translate into a monthly payment? Well, based on a $300,000 mortgage, the difference between 3% and 5%, it's around $350 per month. So you ask, well, what's causing these rates to increase? Well, there's two main factors. The first being inflation. The Federal Reserve has increased the interest rate to hedge inflation. And secondly, they've changed their position on purchasing mortgage-backed securities. They're no longer buying them, they're selling them. So a combination of those two factors are what's increasing the mortgage rates.
I hear you. And so with all that said, what can a buyer do when it comes time to financing their home? What can they do to prepare?
Sure, that's a great question. So my advice is to be proactive. Contact your lender, contact your mortgage banker, and get pre-approved. We need to be able to take a look at your income, your credit, your debts, your assets, see what loan programs are available to you. The last thing you want to do is get out into the housing market and find a house that you absolutely love and you can't ultimately get approved. So my recommendation is definitely be proactive and get pre-approved right out the gate.
Right, and what is it looking like moving forward? I mean, we know what we have now. It's been a crazy couple of years. I guess, as we look to the future, what are we hoping for? What are we going to see?
Sure, so unfortunately there's no crystal ball, but what I can tell you is that markets are cyclical. So if history repeats itself, I mentioned earlier about 2010, the rates being in that 5 percentile range. Well, before 2010, they were even higher than that. They were in the 6 and 7 percentile range. So if history repeats itself, we could be looking at even higher interest rates. So it's still a great time to buy. Inventory is going to catch up with demand. Rents are on the rise. And keep in mind that you can always refinance at a later time should the rates dip.
Right, so the people that are still, skeptical about whether they should, go and try to buy that dream home or buy just that starter home even, do you have any other advice you'd tell them? What would you tell them to kind of ease their mind at a time like this? Sure,
well, just keep in mind that it's better than renting, so pay yourself instead of a landlord, and just get a good team. Get you a realtor, get you a lender, be proactive like I mentioned before, and put yourself in a position to get the best loan programs available and the best rates available, so that when you do get into the market, that's your position to be able to take advantage of that.
Right, and I guess just off the cuff here, what have you been hearing from people who are out here in the streets trying to get themselves that home about just what they're dealing with right now?
Sure, so inventory is low, so there's multiple offer situations, there's over asking price, so it is a bit hectic there, but our builders are trying to get caught up with the demand. So historically speaking, we're still at great interest rates. You've heard of rates in the double digits way back in the 80s and 90s. So historically speaking, we're still at great rates. So it's still a good, the realization of home ownership is still there, and it's better than renting. So I would advise position yourself and get out into the market and take advantage of these beautiful homes that these builders are building.
I hear you. Anything else that you feel is important to know at this point, or really just remembering to be proactive and get ahead of the game as much as you can in a time like this?
Yeah, I think that's important, is getting all your ducks in a row. That way you're not caught. If there's any issues with your current credit, we can get out in front of it, and we can really position you to do something in 6 to 12 months if there's any issues. So just be proactive and surround yourself with a good team, and you should be good to go.
It's all about that teamwork, huh? Well, thank you so much for joining us here this morning in a home like this, giving us tips on how, we can score something like this, with the proper preparation. For now, though, I am live in Broussard. Taylor Toole, KATC-TV 3.